Well, hey there, folks. It's Paulus here once again, and I'm joined by my great friend Matt Perrin. And today we're going to be doing Gear Talk with Mr. Matt Perrin himself. And we're going to be talking about things like Caparison and Angelmaker and things like that, and just gear in the first place, hence Gear Talk. So, all right, let's get started here, man. How you doing?
Oh, good. I am well.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm bored.
Yeah, I mean, this whole like pandemic thing is like basically Call of Duty and guitar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think one thing that people would be interested in hearing, I think, from you is like your experience with Caparison, since you've been with them for a little while now, and you were with them before, and there's like a story with that. I know it's up to you if you want to share that story, but like,
Okay, so I think it was like the first year I went to NAMM and you were there when I met you.
yeah,
And we ended up going and trying a bunch of different guitars. And I think the one that stuck out most to me was Caparison at the time. There was just something about them, playability wise, as well as just overall feel. And I just felt like it was the most, I guess, the best fit for me at the time. You know, I loved them. You know, I have my Horus still. I've had that since 2013, and it's still one of my favorite guitars. You've played it.
yeah, that's a classic one.
Yeah. So yeah, I was with them for a few years, and then I went to Arist, which are also really great guitars, amazing guitars. Love them. Still play all mine as well. And then went back to them after a couple of years, and just have been using them ever since for touring, and used them on the last Angelmaker album, as well as the Aristides guitar. So I used a bunch of different guitars, and you know, overall I feel like it's kind of my personal, I guess, like personal taste in guitars, everything. Yeah.
Awesome. Did you like? I don't know if you have like a favorite lead sounding one, or if there's one that's like more specific to something else. Would that be fair enough to say?
Yeah, I'd say my favorite sounding one is probably that black Dillinger that I have, that one off. So they had this one, I think it was in the warehouse for about a year or so. And Gabriel about it. And I think it was Phil I was talking to originally. And I just wanted a backup for the Tat that I have, the one that I played it. And I was like, hey, I really want to get a Dillinger too. So if you have like a black one to kind of match this one, let me know. And then he sends me a photo of this all blacked out Dillinger with a matte black neck and a matte black body. And I was like, holy crap, I've never seen anything like that before. And he's like, yeah, it's a one-off we did. And I ended up getting that one. And I remember when it came in the mail, I strummed a G chord, because that's kind of a good,
Yeah, yeah.
everything's in tune, especially with a Floyd Rose, right?
Yeah, man.
I remember getting that one and strumming it, and it was perfectly in tune. So I met Gabriel, and I was like, wow, this is still in tune. I don't know how long you guys have had it. And he said it was in the factory or in that warehouse, sorry, for about a year. And I was pretty blown away by that. But that's probably my favorite guitar, and like probably the best sounding one. There's just kind of something about the way it is and the way the pickups are, and it's just really unique sounding.
That's awesome, dude. I mean, like it's cool to get something rare from a company that like does like special stuff. They seem to like Caparison has always done some like one-off weird stuff, but it's like it's
Yeah.
not easy to find. It is just one-off. It isn't like a marketing ploy or anything like that. And it's all really quality stuff. I remember my Dellinger being really like awesome and just eventually just not getting along with it because of scale length. That was my thing. But otherwise it like played great. It was a beautiful instrument. Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. So that's probably like the top of the cream of the crop, rather.
I'd say, yeah, there's just something special about it. And I mean, I don't know, like tonally, there's this thing that it does, which is like really cool, is when I'm doing lead stuff, there's harmonics that just come out so easily. And I've never had that in another guitar. So I think that's like also a hard thing to kind of find in a guitar, where, you know, you're doing that and it just like hits a harmonic in a certain way. So it's really interesting. And I mean, the Tat that I have is also really, really amazing. And that one is also just incredible playing guitar. But this one just for some reason has kind of like the magic to it.
It's got the mojo. Yeah, man. No, I feel that. I feel that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So did you have, so sorry, so use that one for the Angel Maker record for leads, I would assume, because if it's got that kind of mojo.
Have it for the last album. I think I got the tat and the right after next. So actually for the last Angel Maker album, I ended up using a couple of Aristides and that Jackson mahogany soloist that I had.
Right.
For all the leads and solos. And then I used I think we used the Aristides, the green marble one that I have for all the rhythm tones, and we just blocked the tremolo.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. That's a good thing to do. Hey, speaking of Aristides and trems, I just got like some futon upgrades, right? And it's like a brass block. That thing definitely adds some weight, but dude, it's sick. Like I totally recommend it if you ever want to do like an upgrade.
Every guitar with that now, yeah, and especially the noiseless springs. That's what I want to get.
Yeah, those are awesome. They're really heavy duty though, so like I don't know, you might like need to only use like one or two. Sorry, two rather than just than three, because it was like the bridge was going into the, you know what I mean? Like the springs were too strong. Yeah, it was exactly. It dabbed on me. It was bad. But yeah, so I know for me, I know kind of like some of the more sentimental guitars that you've got, but like for the YouTube audience, like they don't know about the insane old school guitars that you've got.
Yeah, I love a lot of vintage stuff. You know, I'm a huge Les Paul fan. I have a 78 Les Paul that was it's being worked on, and I think it's just about done now.
Awesome.
People who don't know, I had an apartment fire a couple of years ago, and I had some guitars that needed some work after that. But that one, it's in good shape now, and I have a 2005 Les Paul Custom, which is like kind of my holy grail guitar, because that one is super sentimental. It came from my grandma, and that was the first, I think, really, really good guitar that I ever got. And I was, I think, about 15 years old, around 15, maybe 16. I remember getting that, and I was just like, I don't even want to play it. It's so nice.
Yeah. I remember that one being super beautiful, and like I remember I did a review of it back when I used to do reviews, and the video was just annihilated. It just like, I don't know what happened, but it was gone. So I have like a tone demo with it, and that was it. And like,
Yeah, but
the way it is.
Damn, that's awesome. Like, that's my guitar. It sounds so good in Paul's hands.
I appreciate that. But no, like I've heard you play that one, and I've heard I remember the 78 when you brought that over once upon a time, and how awesome that one like is still, right? Like crazy guitar, crazy pickups.
Yeah, we did. This is a short kind of tone demo thing. Yeah. But yeah, probably like my favorite, like, I guess, classic guitars that you could say that I have. But those are pretty sentimental because it was my first vintage guitar. And then my first like really good guitar that was from my grandma, which is something I'll, have forever. And, she's not around anymore. So that's kind of like, a super sentimental piece that I have from her that I'll never get rid of. Absolutely,
man. Absolutely. It's one of those lifer guitars, right? Like you'll always hold on to it no matter what. That's the thing that you take with you. Like,
and everybody needs Paul and a Strat, and
absolutely. Everyone's got to have at least one of those at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, what kind of stuff are you jamming with these days? I know that you're kind of on a neural train right now. Like you just became an artist kind of recently.
Yes. So I became an artist probably, I'd say, within the last month or so. And yeah, no, I've been using their stuff a while now and just recording new Angel Maker demos with it. I've been doing stuff with iLegion with it, and the tones are just insane. It sounds so close to an actual mic'd amp that I'm kind of like, oh man, like even having, you know, my Rev and my Marshall and stuff, like those are amazing amps. It's like, it comes so close to those, and you can just modify them, do EQing and everything. And it's amazing. Like the technology that they have nowadays.
It's crazy stuff. Yeah. I mean, like, I'm always stoked. So for the YouTube community that doesn't know, I mean, Matt and I have been friends for ages and years actually. Well, recently you came by before the pandemic hit, and we were going through some tones and got some really sick tones. And I remember that was some good fun. Like that's what it is. It comes back to like, it's fun to play those things, right? Like the neural stuff is so good that it's fun. That's how you know that it's a good product and a good sim.
Yeah. And you can dial in things for hours and just be like, oh man, like that sounds really cool. And then like, what if we try this? And then you save so many different tones, and, you know, just with one pack, like one of the amps, you can just do so many things. And I think that's the coolest thing about it is it's so expansive with how much you can do. And I think that's the best part about it is like, you can literally create from.
It's really interesting to me. I was also talking with Mike from Spirit Box a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, and he had mentioned how they used the Nolly basically for like a bunch of singles or a bunch of the recent songs, which is just like, that's crazy. Like, and it sounds that good. I fooled me, you know what I mean? Like, I thought it was like a proper amp or something, but it was like the Nolly or whatever it was. It's wild.
Yeah, it's stuff now that is like totally competing with guys like Fractal and Kemper, and it's pretty insane how the dynamics of like playing stuff, you know, your volume down, it cleans up really nice. And I think that's like one of the best things about all that. You know, it's just it has like a real feel to it. So I'm excited to see the actual pedal come out.
Yeah. Oh man. So like the Quad Cortex in my first one of these videos in the first GearTalk, it was like everyone's hyped. Everyone wants to know more and find out more and talk about it more. Like, well, I don't know about the profiling aspect of it, but I'm curious. Like, what are you stoked about it? Like, have you done the research on it too? Because like, it's a lot of different stuff that's going on in that thing.
Yeah, I know. Like as far as the stuff, I should say. I know you can put your own tones in it, and then I don't know if you can put different IRs in it or not.
I think that you can, and I think that one thing that you can do, especially you, because you've got like an awesome Marshall, the Jubilee amp, right? And like that would be crazy, but I think that you can actually put that in there basically. Like it will, you can make your own amps basically, right? I don't exactly know how it works. I'm excited to find out how that's going to work. But I'm just imagine taking that live for your like lead tone with your bends, with your vibrato, with your shred, with your utmost shred. It would just, you know, like I get excited about thinking about that, right?
My decent bends.
Oh,
they're okay.
Yeah, right.
But no, I think that'd be really cool, and especially like if you know you make a tone and I really like it, I could be like, hey man, can you send me that, or vice versa. And with anybody, like really nice, and I think that's like a really cool thing. It's almost like tone sharing with everyone, as well as, you know, like Fractal does or Kemper does. You can kind of just do that as well. And I think that's really cool because you can kind of learn a few things from different EQing that someone else does that you may not have thought of.
Definitely. What I like about their amp sims in the first place is if you pick up a different guitar with different pickups, it's going to feel different. It'll be like as if you really did switch to another guitar and you're with the amp. So I think even from just that point of view, it's going to be like, oh wow, like so many different tonal options immediately, right?
Yeah, like say if you play with like a telly or single coil pickup guitar, and then you switch to something like a 7-string with humbucker.
Yeah.
So that'll be really interesting to see and kind of experiment with when the actual Quad Cortex comes out.
Yeah. So in talking about Fractal and like the Helix and the other units out there, what I found, I mean, like you can let me know, you can let us all know what you found as well. But like when I found other people's tones and I tried them, it definitely sounded the same, but it just, it made everything sound the same. Like it didn't matter so much, the pickups, electronics, like a 6-string was still a 6-string was still a 6-string, unless it was single coils, in which case some less output, but it never sounded like it was a real deal amp, I guess, even with Fractal specifically with me.
Yeah, no, I found the same thing too. It's kind of hard, especially when you're trying different pickups out. And I think that's kind of a little frustrating, because if you have something with high gain and you want to hear it with like 2 different guitars to kind of do a comparison, it's hard to with some different products, I should say. I don't want to like say one specifically, but with some different products, I think it's harder, because since the simulation is just like kind of one thing, it's hard to kind of get a different feel on different things like pickups or different woods for,
yeah, absolutely,
or non-woods, you know. But I think like with the stuff, you can actually hear a difference in everything. So that's the nice thing I do like about them. And I think it's just like kind of just to show how far technology has come, and like whatever they have done to the neural stuff, it really does feel different. And I think that's why a lot of people are jumping on board and kind of, you know, really enjoying the product.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. Like I totally agree. It's not good for like a podcasty thing to have nowhere to go, but like I totally agree with you. Like that's, you know, nothing to add. It's the kind of stuff that's like they're adding some crazy glass so that's really hard to break, and then like all their parts are like really, really high grade and everything. Like it's gonna be like a stomp box that you can stomp on and it'll be okay kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's really like, that's a big part of the battle, because it's so much technology. It's like buying like a computer that's like an amplifier basically, right? Like I would hate to destroy it, you know, but now
Yeah.
rigs are going to get even smaller, which is so cool.
And more powerful. It's like cell phones. Like cell phones are now like more powerful than computers. Like, and it's pretty insane. So probably where it's own and with gear and stuff, and it makes touring a lot easier too, right? So that's, I mean, it's nice having a full rig, like a full stack with, you know, a head, but for ease of setup, it's also nice having something that's like this big. And then
like a lunchbox. Yeah.
So do that, and I think they're gonna nail it with the Cortex. So I feel like it's gonna be a really big step in touring musicians as far as, you know, having that kind of amazing tone in such a small package.
Absolutely. And like the thing is that like, what is it? I think that you're able to run it through front of house and to run it through the stage. So you've got both, you know, like you can hear obviously you can hear your wedge monitor, and then you're good to go. Like so it kind of comes back to like what gear can go in its place, you know? When I went on tour with Nightmare, we were doing the Kemper thing, and it was like still fairly small, but like they bought lights, rather, I should say. I didn't buy anything. It was their show, you know, but they bought some lights, some really beautiful LED bars basically. And we used those for like atmosphere and ambience. Basically that helped to really make the show, like an experience, right? And like we were able to do that because we were borrowing cabinets and things like that. But there was like a couple of shows where there was no ability to have cabinets. So running through front of house, through the wedges, and like just atmospheric and kind of an empty stage. But it makes it like, I don't know, in a band like Angelmaker, you guys have a lot of members, right? So like I can imagine it's going to feel even better to like have less stuff kind of in the way, right?
There's only so much room. Like even before, when there was only 6 of us, there was hardly any room on stage. Now I feel like it's gonna be even less. But with that being said, you know, it's also nice having the dynamic of just more sound, because I think it's really nice to have just almost like a wall of sound and just have like the heaviness of just another guitar player. So it would be cool to have lighting, because I know with, you know, guys like Meshuggah where they have insane lighting and they're like, absolutely. But stuff like that, it really makes a show kind of memorable.
Absolutely.
And when you did tour with Nightmare, even some of the photos, I was like, man, this looks really cool. And there's not many of you on stage.
I mean, yeah, it's because we didn't have a bass player. Hey, we had tracks going for bass and for like some ambience and things like that. But You know, like I think it's the other thing is like using like a Kemper, it can keep it really consistent. So on the flip side of the whole thing, like tones are like stable and consistent with the accent. And I think with the Kemper as well, it feels like a snapshot of an amplifier rather than like an actual amp. EQing it is kind of like whatever, like kind of after the fact. But like I used 2 profiles the whole tour, and that was it basically. And I only used those 2 because one guitar had like bare knuckles and the other one had Lundgren. So like you have to switch to make sure. Yeah, basically whichever guitar I felt like playing that night was the one. Okay, that means I need to use the other profile or whatever. And Simon was basically like, he played his black ESP with EMGs, but he fell in love with his Fishman one, his white one, and that was it. It's so gorgeous in person, and like he just used one guitar, one profile. He changed strings once, so did I, and that was it. Like that was the whole tour.
Yeah, I think that was what we did on Rings too. I know Colton was using a what was he using? I think he was using the Line 6 Helix Stomp.
Oh yeah. Oh.
From Rings of Saturns. And then he ended up getting one after that tour because he loved it so much. And the tone from that thing is awesome too. And it sounds really good, really solid tone. And it's really nice because like a lot of the tones that he has, it really fills out a lot of space, which is like really good because when I'm doing lead stuff, it doesn't sound thin.
Right.
Which is like probably the best thing. But I mean, with another guitar player added, I think it'll just sound even bigger now. So
it's going to be, I mean, like, I would imagine that there's going to have to be some kind of like, when you guys get ready for shows again, there must be some kind of EQing that'll take place because it's a lot of sonic, it's like a lot of sonic information, right? Like,
yeah,
it must be fun.
The car is great. I think he maybe has like a Kemper or something, but everything that he's been doing with the demos, I think he's using neural stuff for demos. So all the demos are sounding amazing, and he's a really, really good songwriter. Johnny's a really, really amazing dude. And I mean, I think he's going to be a really good addition to the band. And as far as like songwriting goes, like he just has so many different ideas than the rest of us. So it's like a new dynamic that's like really fresh. And it's going to be really fun to kind of just see where the music goes when the album is fully completed.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see because it feels like such a progression. Like when I listen back to older Angelmaker and then Dissentient, and then like was it a split that you guys did with
Night in Texas? Yeah,
that's right. That's right. You can kind of hear the progression. So to have Johnny come in with his own set of influences, that's definitely going to be interesting to hear the difference in the right. Like in a way, you know, Angelmaker is not necessarily like prog metal in a way, but it's like progressing and moving forward. That's really cool. I like that. I think that's really like that. There's story to that. That's lovely.
Yeah, and I mean, he has like a different style of writing, but also it's funny the way he does write. It does still sound like Angelmaker. It's just like almost just a new kind of fresh part of it, which is really cool. And I love the fact that he is like very open to having a lot of like space where leads are filled in, or a lot of like, you know, really cool breakdowns, and then like vocals can go over it. Like the way he writes, it's very open to everyone else's parts as well, which is, I mean, all the previous songs are like that too, but it's just nice to have that new dynamic in the band, which is, it's just like very fresh and it's very new. So yeah.
That's awesome, man. I mean, like, and yeah, and I don't know if Johnny will ever watch this, but another big congratulations to him because it's wicked, right?
Hi, Johnny. Hi.
They have their own podcast. Hey, Johnny and Dana, they're doing the Just Noise Boys or whatever, and that's cool.
And all my other boys in the band. Yeah, but yeah, no, it's gonna be good, and I think just like our van is going to be funny to sleep in now because there's going to be so many dudes in the van. So there's going to be a lot of spooning and a lot of very close hugs and cuddles, I think.
Yeah, like I didn't even clue into that. I just like, oh yeah, that's a thing. Woo!
I think we need to get a bus at this point.
I mean, yeah. So like, I don't know. It would be good to get one of those. What was it, bandwagons or whatever they're called?
maybe eventually it'd be really cool to do that. But I mean, it's just, you know, obviously everything the way it is now, no one's going to be touring for a while. So I hope we can play again soon. I miss it, and I miss playing shows and like touring, and especially like playing over in Europe and like the big festivals and stuff like that is the coolest thing ever. So do that again, and to keep writing and make this new album happen with all the rest of the guys. It's going to be really exciting. And we've been writing a ton. So we have like a bunch of demos and kind of just whittling them down into the, I guess the ones we want to use for the album right now.
Right. That's always a really interesting process. And so like a lot of bands will do, or a lot of artists will do like 15, 20 songs and then bring it down and whittle it down and whittle it down. Is it a similar process with you guys?
Yeah, I think the last one, Colton just went on a writing spree. So I was like, holy shit. And he had like, I think like 14 songs or something like that. He can, like, it's crazy. That guy can come up with riffs just like so fast. And he's like, hey, I just wrote this song today, and then just sends it. And we're like, okay, cool. And then that's like another one. But yeah, I think we had something like 14 songs or something. And then we ended up using 10 for the album.
Wow.
Which was good. But the nice thing about that is, you know, we can either do bonus tracks if we wanted to, or we can use another song from that on the next album and kind of just like refine it.
That's a great way to do it. Yeah, that's really cool. And it sounds like with you and Johnny as well, and the other members contributing ideas, like there must be just so many damn demos now, man. Like I would have a hard time keeping track.
Yeah, Cole had stuff. Jesse's been writing a bunch of drums, and he's been sending ideas. And I know Mike and Casey always have tons of vocal ideas. And like, you know, obviously the three guitar players, me, Colton, Johnny, we always have like different things we bounce off each other and stuff. So it's been good because everybody does have a lot of ideas, and it's really good in that way. It's not like really, you know, everybody has something to say, I would say.
Right. Yeah, no, that's really awesome.
So it's nice to have that. Whereas, you know, Cole's really good at doing parts where it's like, hey, like transitioning parts, or like, hey, let's do this breakdown instead of like this pattern, let's throw this pattern at the end, or, you know, something like that. And it's really cool because it's stuff that I never would have thought of. And, you know, everyone else has other input that really comes into play. And I think it's like a really good thing to have in the band, because there's always so many ideas being thrown around rather than less ideas, and people kind of just get stuck. So it is it's very overwhelming at times because there are so many people, but I think it's overwhelming in a good way at points.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it sounds like obviously the pros outweigh any kind of cons that would exist, because that sounds awesome. And so let me get this straight. So Colton is using like he had a Schecter.
Yeah, so he's got that white single cut Schecter. And he's been using that, I think, for probably a couple years now. I know he really, and that's been, I think he's done the last 3 or 4 tours with it or something like that. But held up so well, and it's pretty insane because that stays in tune so well. And he uses really thick strings. I think he uses like 13s or 14s. But we're also tuned down, and he tunes down a 6-string to drop A.
Holy.
Right? So I use a 7, so I have like the extra range. So I'm just standard with a low A.
Yeah, and so now when I think about it, so he's got this Schecter tune to drop A. You're in drop A on a 7, and Johnny's got the 8-string Aristides. So yeah. It's like, oh my God, that's a lot of strings.
A lot of, but it's also, it works because like there's a lot of chords that Colton does that I actually have to have different fingering for. So like he'll do like these filling in kind of like room chords, whereas, you know, I'll do some other harmony on like another couple strings that, you know, would be a little different for his fingering. And I'm sure like Johnny with the 8-string can figure out some other crazy stuff. So it'll be really cool. We have like 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, I just like made that connection. I was like, oh my god, this is absurd. It's gonna be so heavy. Like
Yeah,
it's gonna be absurd to hear.
love the color on it. Yeah.
The purple is great. I mean, so like it's an interesting aesthetic, and I know Cole has got the Musicman thing going on for him as well, right?
Yeah, so he's got that 5-string music, and I think he's in the process of I know they said they would make him 2 custom basses.
Wow.
So like waiting on ordering those. But yeah, I mean, he's got some really cool ideas for like custom ones, and he was sending me some finish ideas, and I was like, dude, you have to do these. Like, it's super cool. And those basses are awesome. Cole's very known for his like matte black music.
Yeah. It's wicked.
Buy that thing a few times, and you know, it's a very solid piece of wood.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
But I've also hit other guys with like the Caparison headstock, and that's like a ear. So
Yeah.
kind of when you have so much room, kind of bound to happen.
You gotta do what you gotta do. I remember being in a band and I don't know, I had like a Dean or an ESP or something. I don't really remember what the guitar was, but Buddy on the other guitar was windmilling, and he got caught. He got his hair caught into the headstock, and as soon as he realized that we just gave each other a look, and he just like ripped, and I went the other way just to get it over with. And like at the end of the set, I go to the headstock, and he's like, it's like so like 10, 20 hairs, long black hairs that just have to get ripped out. Poor guy. But yeah, I can imagine that will happen on stage now, especially with 7 dudes.
Yeah.
Oof. But amazing. Like, oh,
right?
sorry, can you repeat that? Sorry, the mic cut out.
Okay, I was saying luckily Johnny doesn't have super long hair.
He is lucky in this case. He's lucky in this case, definitely. So it's interesting to hear, like, between all the different instruments and like the lightening, not lightning, of the rigs, right? Like things are getting smaller and more portable. And I'm just like, Cole did he use a dark glass pedal?
Cole's got the dark glass. It's a limited edition one that he has, and I can't remember the model exactly. I should probably know this though, and it probably looks really bad that I don't.
No. I mean, like, I'm just like trying to suss out like how it must be on stage with all the different gear, right? Like, it must be a dark glass something or other, right? B7K.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a B7K. I know Cole will probably give me shit for this if he sees this, but I'm pretty sure it's a B7K, but it was a limited edition that he has, and it sounds amazing. His rig is basically like this big.
That's incredible. So basically everyone's rig is now tiny. The stage is perhaps a touch smaller because there's going to be another body on it. But like, I wonder how you guys are going to navigate that, and I wonder how it's going to be, you know, playing gigs and exploring what that's going to be like.
I mean, luckily for us that, you know, in the past few years, the venues and stages that we have been playing have been getting bigger. So, I mean, that is a plus. And I mean, you know, the fans that we have are amazing, and they've been super supportive, and it's been nice playing bigger and bigger shows and touring with bigger bands. And, you know, it's very surreal a lot of the time. And some of those bands even, you know, we've grew up listening to, like when we toured with Black Dahlia Murder, like that was very surreal. And same with, you know, just a bunch of bands that we played with. Cattle Decap, like that's really one of the cooler ones. And just any band that we've really kind of toured with that we grew up listening to was very weird touring with them and then getting to know them, because you're like, holy shit, you're like my idol, and they're just the coolest dudes ever. So I think for me, like the best one was Black Dahlia. That's like a band that I've been listening to since I was like 14 and 15, whatever, you know, and touring with them was very surreal. And seeing Brandon play every night was insane. He's just way too good.
I can only imagine like being, oh my God, seeing that every night. I got the pleasure of meeting the vocalist from Black Dahlia.
Yeah, he's a super.
He is. He came up to me after the Nightmare set because he seems to be. He's apparently a fan of Nightmare, And I was done. Like after I play shows, like I'm spent like $5 at a bar, you know, like I'm spent before it's even begun. I'm exhausted, right? And you know how touring is. And I'm like a tall dude. I can't sleep in the van very well. But so it was after the show and we were playing first. And I remember he like came up to me and was like, dude, great set, man. I'm like, thank you so much. Like, I wish I could talk to you right now, but I'm like dead. Like I was, you know, completely exhausted. That was in Brooklyn. And I loved the show, but it was just like, dude, like, you're so cool. Your band is so great, but I just can't. Like I was slumped over. That's the way I you know, became, you know.
A lot out of you, especially if you're gone for a long amount of time, you know. Because I think the last I did was like 5.5 to 6 weeks or some shit like that. Long one.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Other 6-week tours before, and it does take a lot out of you, and like by the end of it you're like, I just want to go home and sleep in my own bed and do nothing for a week. But then the tour bug hits and then you're like, I want to go on tour again.
Absolutely. It kind of came back as Facebook, ever the surveillance mechanism, like showed me all the old pictures from the shows. I'm like, oh yeah, that's where I was last year. Right. And here we are now in like coronavirus times and you know, and in this huge movement down in the States right now with what the protests are going on, what the demonstrations are going on. It's really interesting. And so like, I think like musically, it's really cool. I think that, I don't know how you feel about it, but I feel like people are really going to be wanting shows like after the next 5 or 6 months when things kind of pass. I feel like people are going to want to just get out the frustrations that they're, you know, facing as well. Right. Like of all shapes, of all colors, of all sizes, you know, I think that's, everyone's going to want to go and see music being played, you know, aggressive music, folk music, whatever. I just feel like it's going to be a big thing.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of tours are going to be happening all at once, but again, I think it's going to be a really good thing for the music industry because I feel like everyone's kind of just wanting to see live music again so bad that I think shows are going to sell out like crazy. Tours are going to be, you know, there's going to be like 10 bands touring at the same time in your city or whatever, you know. But I think it'll be really good, and I'm excited to kind of see where that leads, like the metal music specifically, because, you know, when we tour, like we usually have like a really awesome package that we go with or, you know, are a part of. And the shows do well, but I'm curious to see like after this whole pandemic and everything to see how much bigger things will get. And I think it's just really exciting, but also it's like very frustrating to wait and not play shows.
I feel it, man. I feel it. I don't have a steady gig, but I still feel that, that I feel the excitement. I feel that want, I suppose, as well. Yeah, it's super cool. And I think, I mean, so you're gonna, okay, so to bring it back around to the gear for a sec here. So which guitars do you bring now? What would you bring if you had to go on tour tomorrow? You know, what's the list?
I usually bring 2 guitars, so I have like a main and a backup. And luckily, kind of, you know, fingers crossed, so far I haven't had to use a backup, but I usually bring the Tat and the Black Dellinger, sorry. But yeah, that's the 2 I brought on the last 2 tours, I would say, and they've held up really well and nothing to complain about. And, you know, just funny thing is too, the last tour I tried some new strings out and I went the entire tour without changing them just to see if I could. I was like, okay, let's try these. It was the new Diodario ones. That are like, they're saying that they're plasma coated. I'll look it up really quick.
Yeah.
I think it's some sort of like coated ones that they have. It's almost like the Ernie Ball paradigms.
Right. Was it the XT or something like that?
Yeah, so I used the XTs on the last tour and they felt brand new the entire tour. And I was like, okay, well, they sound good. The tone's still there. They don't feel dirty and kind of grimy, like, you know, when strings get old and like shitty. But yeah, they felt great all tour. And I had my backup just in case with fresh strings on it. And yeah, they lasted the entire tour and sounded great. So I think those are kind of going to be what I'm going to be using from now on.
That's awesome. I've got to try them too. I mean, like, I just haven't had the chance. I put some paradigms on, I think my 8-string, but it wasn't working so hot for me because I needed like a really thick gauge for the lowest string. So I bought this like specific Strandberg NYXL set that goes from 9 to 84. So there's an 84 on the bottom of my 8 string right now, and it's tuned to E, like it's a whole step down. And I love it. It actually sounds awesome now. Like it took forever for me to like figure out how to make it sound good.
84. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I use 62 on my 7. But 84 is like, that's like a telephone cable.
Yeah, it feels like you'll never catch me playing leads with that. You know what I mean? Like I'm never going to, sounds terrible.
That's good though. Yeah. You only, how many 8s do you have? Do you have 2?
I just have the 1/8 string. I have a bunch of 6s. So I got I got the 010, I got an 060R, and I have my old DSP, which I'm going to be like modding up soon here because I've got some new pickups coming in for my pink guitar, and I'm going to put those Fishman Moderns in the old DSP just to like have them in there. It's exciting, but yeah, I'll get another 8 eventually. It's like way too much money for me right now, especially with with coronavirus. And like it's just,
yeah, everyone's struggling a little right now.
yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, other than that, I mean, I should probably get it today, but I have no idea what to do with one.
I mean, there's more and more ways to learn that. I feel like it's like, like we just like with 6 or 7, like you have to spend the time to get used to it. That's what I found basically. You just need to spend the hours and be like, all right, so this is like the octaves that sound good and the chords and whatever. Yeah, it just takes time. That's really what it is.
Yeah, I mean, for a while, a couple, I would say a little while for me to transition from a 6 to a 7, and now it's like nothing going between the two. So I'm sure it's the same thing going from 7 to 8.
Definitely, yeah. It takes the time that it takes, like anything else, I guess. I think for me, it was always just like pickup options and stuff like that because got to get the Fishman stuff going. That's for me. That's for me personally. I just have to put them in all the things now, or find a way to do that. But so I can't do that with the 080S. But it is what it is.
Yeah, the slanted pickups.
Yeah. What can you do, right? But yeah, I think in terms of the GearTalk, I think this is like a good note to end it on. And if people want to check out Angelmaker, where should they go?
You can go to our Facebook, our Instagram. We have stuff on Bandcamp. We have pretty much. You can just Google Angelmaker and we'll pop up everywhere. We have a bunch of music videos and album streams. So if you want to listen to our album for free, it's on YouTube. Just Google Angelmaker if you don't.
Yeah. It's the easiest. Yeah, and I'll throw links in the description of this video down below as well. And all right, man. So I guess, I'll talk with you in a minute after this. But for now, and for YouTube's sake, thanks for joining me and for being on GearTalk, man.
Thanks. Yeah. Subscribe to Paul. He's a great dude. Amazing guitar. And if you don't subscribe, you're doing something wrong.
I appreciate that. That's good. That's like threatening, but not too threatening. That's good. Well, all right. So cheers, YouTube. We'll see you next time.